Hey guys, today we're talking about subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. So on your piece of notebook paper, you need to have this title at the top, as well as your name, the date, and your hour. Okay, here are the rules. To add or subtract fractions with unlike denominators, you rename the fraction using the least common denominator. Then you add or subtract the numerators and simplify your answer. So today's focus is on subtraction. So what we're going to do for these guys is we are going to find their common denominators, because this represents the number of pieces. So I have 3 pieces and each of them are a fourth. So the 4 represents the size of the pieces. Please write this fraction and label it the way I did. Okay, now write the problem in your notebook. 3/4 minus 1/3. So make sure you pause and do that if you haven't gotten a chance. Okay, so let's look at 3/4 minus 1/3. The multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20, and so on and so forth. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So the one they share in common, the least common multiple, is 12. So we are asking ourselves how we get from 3/4 to 12 as the denominator. What number times 4 gives me 12? Well, this was 4 times 1, 4 times 2, so 4 times 3 gives me 12. I can multiply anything in the numerator by the same number in the denominator. So, because this equals 1, if I multiply 3/4 times 1, I get itself. So I'm not really changing the size of the shape that I have. For example, if I have 3/4, okay, I'm not really changing this. I'm just changing the size of the pieces, which is okay. I'm changing how many pieces are available out of the pie that I have. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9. So now we have 9/12 minus, so now let's work with the 1/3. What times 1/3 gives us 12? So 3 times 4 gives us 12, so 1 times 4 gives us 4, and we're left with 9 minus 4, 12ths. So how many 12ths do I have? I have 5 12ths as my answer. Let's look at the next one, 5/8 minus 1/4. Okay, 8, 16, 24, 4, 8, okay, I can stop because I already found 8. So bring down my 5/8, I don't need to change him. But I do need to multiply 4 times some number to get 8. 4 times 2 over 2. So 1/4 times 2 over 2 gives me 2/8. Now we're going to subtract the top numbers, 5 minus 2. The size is common, so they're eighths. And 5 minus 2 is 3/8. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to try these 2 for me, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, grab your red pen and let's check our work. First, let's look at the common multiples. Oops, I meant to drag that, not write on it. Okay, so the multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12, 16. We can stop at 8 because we see that they share an 8 in common. 5/8 comes down, and we're going to multiply 3 times 2 and 4 times 2 to make this 4 1/8. So we are left with 3/4 becoming 6/8 minus 5/8. Now let's take 6 minus 5 over my eighths, and I get 1/8 as my answer. Over here, the multiples of 2 were 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The multiples of 5 were 5, 10, 15, 20. So they share a 10 in common. So I'm going to be multiplying 1/2 by 5 over 5. And I'm going to be multiplying 2/5 by 2 over 2 because we want the common denominators to be 10. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5, so 5/10. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4, so 4/10. Now I can just subtract 5 minus 4, and I get 1, and their common denominator is 10, so 1/10. Let's do some examples of mixed fractions. Okay, so in this example, we've got whole numbers and fractions. Step 1, make common denominators. So bring down your 8, and I can see that 3 is half of 6. So if I multiply 3 times 2, I get 6. If you need to write out your multiples, you can. So I get 2 on top and 6 on the bottom. Now I can look at this and say, yeah, 5/6 minus 2/6 gives me 3/6, and 8 minus 2 gives me 6. So 6 and 3/6. Uh-oh, just kidding. We have to simplify. So 6 and 3/6. What are the factors of 3? 1 and 3, and the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So I'm going to factor out a 3. By dividing by 3 over 3, I can simplify to 6 and 1/2. Now this one, I have 7 wholes minus 1/2. So instead, I want you to write this one down with me. You're going to change it to a 6 and 2 halves. So what we're doing is essentially we are taking our wholes and we are making them into halves, okay? 6 and 2 halves. I'm taking one whole away and then I'm making it into a fraction. So now we can subtract. We can take 1 away from 2 and get 1/2, take 6 and take 1 away from it and get 5, and that's my answer. Let's look at a real world problem. Me and my sister took this picture in Mexico. But I need to fit it into a frame. I want to take 4/5 an inch off of 12.5 inch photo. So 12.5 minus 4/5. Write this one down. First step, make common denominators. So 12, and I can tell that they both share a 10 in common when I make my multiples. If you need to do that yourself, do it. But 5 times 2 is 10, and 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. So now I need to subtract. But I can't take 8 away from 5. So let's think about this 12/5 a different way. Let's think of the 12 as an 11 and 10 tenths, okay? Because 10 tenths is one whole. Then add our 5 tenths to it. So we're going to think about it as an 11 and 15 tenths. Now can I subtract 8 tenths from 15 tenths? Sure can, and I get 7 tenths. Then I bring down my whole number because there's no whole numbers to subtract from it, and my new photo is 11 and 7/10 inches. Okay, you try these, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Go ahead and pause the video and work these in your notebook. Okay, so here's what I did. First, I made common denominators by multiplying the 5 and the 4 by 2. Now I can work easily with these guys. 8 minus 3 is 5 tenths, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So 5 tenths simplified with my factors. I know they both share a factor of 5, so 4 and 1/2. Over here, I'm going to change these guys into a 6 each because 6 is their common multiple, the least common. So I get 8 and 4/6 minus 2 and 3/6. So 4 minus 3 is 1, so 1/6, and 8 minus 2 is 6. So I get 6 and 1/6. Down here, I first have to change this to a 7 and 4/4. Now I can easily work with them. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1/4. So I'm done. And that's all I have for you today. See you next time.